Chapter 2. She noticed that the kitchen had followed her. After finishing a bowl of porridge, Jian Qingqing felt sleepy again. She knew that the organs in her body were repairing themselves. Seeing this, old man Jian quickly pulled the family out. Let big sister rest well. After they went out, Jian Qingqing fell into a deep sleep. This time, she dreamed of the time before the gas tank exploded. On the dining table were a big bowl of bone soup and a plate of braised pork. On the chopping board was a cut eggplant. At this time, the gas tank was still well placed under the island, everything was very calm. Looking at the tempting food on the dining table, Jian Qingqing subconsciously salivated. She swallowed her saliva and could not help but go over to eat the soup. The bone soup was sweet and delicious. The radishes in it had been cooked until they were soft and tender, emitting a tempting fragrance. Soon, she finished the bowl of soup. Jian Qingqing felt that her stomach was already swollen. She licked her lips, savoring the taste of the bone soup. Perhaps the original owner had never eaten anything with flavor, so her sense of taste was very sensitive, and even a little taste would be magnified in her mouth. At this moment, she only felt that the soup tasted better than anything she had ever eaten before. Salty, fresh, and sweet tastes were exploding in her taste buds. However, Jian Qingqing was puzzled. Could she taste the taste in her dream? This dream was quite real. Suddenly, Jian Qingqing felt someone touching her hand. The next moment, she woke up. She tilted her head and realized that it was Xiao Lang that was grabbing her hand. The little guy might have sneaked in when the adults were not paying attention. Jian Qingqing picked him up and placed him on the bed. Although it was called a bed, it was actually a few wooden planks placed on a stone and covered with a layer of straw. There was nothing to eat, and the child was very young. Although he was 3 years old, he looked like a 1.5-year-old child that she had seen in her previous life. He did not know how to walk, and he could not speak well either. He could only say a few words. At this moment, the boy's big round eyes were staring at her without moving. She touched his head tenderly and asked, "What's wrong?" "It smells good." Huh. Jian Qingqing was puzzled. Xiao Lang suddenly leaned on her face and sniffed hard like a puppy. After a while, he said in surprise, "Sister, it smells good." Jian Qingqing also sniffed but did not find any smell. However, there was still the delicious taste of the bone soup in her mouth. She had a bold guess, so she closed her eyes, focused her mind and silently chanted, "Kitchen." In the next moment, she appeared in the kitchen. She had a special ability. Jian Qingqing jumped up in excitement. This was really a path that no one could escape from. She did not expect the kitchen to follow her. She walked around curiously. She knew where the things here were placed with her eyes closed. This was the kitchen that followed her to the other world. Looking at the tightly shut door, she pushed it and realized that she could not move it. Hence, she knew that only the kitchen had followed her here. However, she did not know if the things here could be taken out. Jian Qingqing decided to test it out. Looking at the rock candy in the glass jar, she picked the smallest piece and closed her eyes, muttering, "Go out." Then, when she opened her eyes, she saw Xiao Lang's eyes. She rubbed the rock candy in her palm and was extremely happy. Jian Qingqing sat up, and the Xiao Lang also got up. "Xiao Lang, close your eyes." Xiao Lang thought that his sister was playing games with him, so he obediently closed his eyes. "Open your mouth." "Ah." The boy opened his mouth wide. Jian Qingqing put the rock candy into his mouth. The rock candy was very small, and it was crushed from the big rock candy. Xiao Lang only felt that something had been put into his mouth. He closed his mouth, and in the next moment, his eyes widened. He did not dare to move at all, and his eyes emitted a bright light. Jian Qingqing's heart ached terribly. She touched his bony cheek and said, "Eat it. I'll give it to you after you finish it." Xiao Lang finally came back to his senses. He smashed the thing in his mouth and opened and closed it several times. He seemed to be in disbelief, and his eyes lit up. "It's sweet." He had eaten the sour and sweet fruits on the mountain before. That was what he thought was the most delicious thing, but now, he felt that the food in his mouth was more delicious than any other fruit. Yes, sweet. It's candy. Xiao Lang repeated after her, candy. After he said that, he rolled the sugar with his tongue and felt its taste. Jian Qingqing held his skinny little hand. In this era, candy was a precious thing. People from their families had never even seen it, let alone eaten it. Unlike modern children who were tired of eating cake and chocolate. The only way they could get the taste of sweet was through the wild fruits on the mountain. However, many wild fruits were more sour than sweet. Xiao Lang suddenly broke away from her hand and dug out the candy from his mouth with his hand. He reluctantly handed it to Jian Qingqing. Sister, eat. Jian Qingqing was both moved and amused as she looked at the candy in his little hand. Xiao Lang, eat it. Sister has already eaten it. Xiao Lang was also very reluctant. After hearing what she said, he immediately took it back and licked it a few times. Then, he carefully wrapped it in his palm. Give it to me. Father, eat it. Mother, eat it. Jian Qingqing took the candy that was only the size of a corn grain from his hand and stuffed it into his mouth again. Everyone had it. This is because the Xiao Lang is obedient. Sister rewarded it to you. Hearing that everyone had it, the Xiao Lang squinted his eyes and enjoyed it. He said sweetly, Xiao Lang is obedient. Jian Qingqing felt that he was very cute. She gently scratched his chin and said, if Xiao Lang is obedient, sister will give it to you again next time. Of course, it was impossible for everyone to eat it. Now that the whole family was so poor that they could only eat grass, it was difficult for her to explain the source of the candy. She only dared to give it to Xiao Lang, who could not speak clearly. The rain outside gradually stopped, and the house was no longer leaking. Mother Jian brought in a bowl of food. Jian Qingqing went over to take a look, and it turned out to be a bowl of minced wild vegetable soup. Big sister, come, eat something more. This is made from the most tender leaves of pak choi. It doesn't hurt your throat. Pak choi was a rare type of wild vegetable that was not bitter. It was also very delicious. Also, because it was delicious, the ones by the roadside had long been picked clean. If one wanted to find it, one had to go deeper into the mountains. It seemed that Jian Qingqing's parents had braved the rain to go into the mountains to help her pick these wild vegetables. Jian Qingqing was very touched. No one had ever treated her so well. In her previous life, her parents divorced after giving birth to her. After that, they each built their own family, and she lived under someone else's roof for a year. After that, she lived with that family for a year. When she became an adult, she moved out on her own. Her relationship with her parents was very poor. She did not expect that when she transmigrated to this family that was so poor that she could not even afford to eat, someone would try their best to treat her well. This was the first time she felt the love of her parents. Hey, why is big sister crying? Do you not want to eat this? Oh my poor daughter, it's all because your parents are not capable enough to let you eat rice. As she spoke, Mother Jian also started to cry. Jian Qingqing sniffed and quickly took the wild vegetable soup and finished it in one gulp. Then she said, how can I despise you? I'm thinking that I must earn a lot of money in the future and let you live a good life. I want you to eat rice every day. One chicken today, one duck tomorrow. Mother Jian finally smiled and pinched Jian Qingqing's nose. What a good day it is. I'm afraid that even the landlord's family can't eat like this. Jian Qingqing also chuckled and said, Mother, I will definitely let you live this kind of life. With the supplies in the kitchen in hand, she did not believe that she and her family could not live a full life. Mother Jian did not care much about her daughter's ambition. She just thought of it as the child's filial piety.